I never expected my billionaire dad would ask me to choose a mother, but I picked our maid. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. They say money can buy almost anything, but on that day, it couldn't buy me peace. The air crackled with tension, a tight ball in my stomach. I could feel my hands trembling, clammy as I sat across from my father, his piercing eyes boring into me. "Choose," he said simply, his voice icy, devoid of warmth. He leaned back in his opulent leather chair as if he was deciding which expensive suit to wear, while I felt like a freak show at a carnival. The marble floors seemed to gleam with judgment, each swirl reflecting the chaotic mess of my world. "Mom." A ghost of her floated in my memory, her laughter echoing like faded music. She left when I was too young to understand why. I remembered clinging to the pillow she used to curl beside me at night, the smell of her perfume lingering in the fabric, a bitter reminder of love lost. And now, she was just a name, an emptiness. Then there was Maria. Our maid. Strong, resilient, with hands that worked magic in the kachina hummingbird flitting between the chaos of our mansion. She listened to my secrets, her eyes crinkling around the edges when she smiled. I could see the world through her, the colors were muted yet powerful. When I was sad, she held my gaze, anchoring me in a storm. Her warmth wrapped around me like a blanket on a cold night. I felt safe with her. "Your choice has consequences," my father continued, voice low and menacing. Behind him, the grand chandelier sparkled, mocking me with its brightness. I sensed the weight of his expectation, a mountain I wasn't sure I could climb, and yet, amidst the darkness, there was something about Maria. A flicker of hope behind her hard-earned lines of age. It drove me to shout, "I pick Maria." My voice broke, trembling as I spoke it aloud, louder than I meant to, the shimmer of the chandelier shivering with intensity, gasps echoed from the shadows, disbelief wrapped around the room. My father's jaw clenched. The silence stretched, heavy, before he finally stood up, his expression unreadable, twisting into something darker. The atmosphere shifted. A storm rolled in, looming above with a dread I couldn't shake. "Then prepare for your choice's repercussions," he whispered, almost as an afterthought. The air grew colder, the walls of the mansion closing in around me. My heart pounded like a war drum, and I wondered if I had just sealed our fates, his, mine, and Mariah's. I glanced toward the door as a creeping sense of dread washed over me. What had I just done? Unanswered questions loomed like shadows, whispering fear into my heart. My choice felt like a chain, heavy and unyielding. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The hours that followed my declaration blurred together, each second dragging like the weight of the world was pressing down on my shoulders. My father stormed out of the room, leaving a void in his wake, a stark reminder of my impulsive choice. I sat there, clutching the edges of the chair, battling a rising wave of regret and uncertainty. As darkness fell outside, the gilded mansion felt less like a home and more like a prison of my own making. Shadows danced against the grand walls, quietly mocking me for the naivete of my decision. I could hear the muted sounds of the house, the soft rustle of the cleaning staff, the distant footsteps of someone moving through the impressive hallways. Each sound reverberated, raising goosebumps along my arms. Finally, a gentle knock broke the silence, pulling me from my spiraling thoughts. It was Maria, her silhouette just barely illuminated by the glimmering light outside. She entered cautiously, her presence enveloping me in warmth, even amid the cold tumult I felt inside. "Kara, are you all right?" she asked, her voice a soft melody that cut through my distress. I shook my head, fighting back tears that threatened to spill over. "What have I done, Maria? What if I've messed everything up?" She moved closer, her hands finding mine, steadying them in hers. You chose with your heart. That is not a mistake. You deserve to feel safe, she whispered, her eyes searching mine, showing a fierce determination that felt comforting. But my father, I began, but Maria cut me off gently. Your father's heart is buried under layers of money and expectations. He may not understand your choice now, but you followed what you felt was right. That takes strength. Don't let fear drown it out. Her words wrapped around me, intricate and powerful as they soothed the turbulence within. For a fleeting moment, I felt lighter, as though the burdens I carried were absorbed into her steady grip. Maria, my anchor amidst the chaos. Even in that moment, shadows loomed, the reality of my father's threats echoing louder than her reassurance. I took a deep breath, attempting to reconcile my emotions, but just like the storm looming outside, I too remained restless. That I don't know what's coming, Maria. What if he tries to hurt you? I asked, the panic clenching my chest again. Maria held my gaze firm. I've faced struggles that he couldn't begin to understand. No one can take what I have fought for. Her words held the weight of untold stories, an unyielding spirit that left me in awe, yet with a hint of dread. That night, as I lay awake, thoughts swirled around me, visions of my childhood and the ghost of my mother, her laugh brushing against the darkness. I felt the pull of unmade connections, the ache of their absence growing heavier. I closed my eyes, wishing for just a moment of reprieve from the chaos I had summoned. Suddenly, a crash echoed through the house, grinding my heart to a halt. I jumped from the bed, adrenaline surging as I crept cautiously toward the sound. The house was eerily quiet, shadows flickering against the walls. Just as I reached the hallway, a low voice filtered through the air. That I peered around the corner, spotting my father in a heated discussion with a man I'd never seen before, tall, broad-shouldered, and imposing with a slick suit. Their dialogue was harsh, a clash of low rumbling growls that tugged at my gut. No one defies me, my father hissed, fury radiating from him like a storm. The man nodded, seemingly unfazed, as though this was a game of chess. That I understand, the stranger replied, a chill creeping through me with his calm demeanor. But the choice she made is a complicated one. We can't just pull her from this reality without consequences. That I squeezed my eyes shut, breath hitching in my throat. Each word felt like a dagger aimed straight at my heart, sharp and merciless. I didn't know what they plotted, but I sensed danger emanating from every word exchanged. Before I could gather my thoughts or retreat, the front door swung open, and another figure entered, silhouetted against the streetlights. A woman with luxurious hair. And an air of elegance, my mother. A truth I never anticipated, a revelation that sent tremors through my body. Things have changed, she announced, her tone drifting like smoke, and suddenly, the facade of everything I thought I understood was crumbling. Time froze, and in that instant, everything blurred. The love I thought I lost, the aching tumult inside my heart, and the power struggle threatening to swallow me whole. I was caught in a web I hadn't even realized was being woven around me. Mom. I whispered, my voice barely above a breath, fear and hope colliding and spiraling inside me like a hurricane. The air was thick with an electric tension that gnawed at the edges of my sanity. I took a step back, my pulse racing as the word "Mom" hung in the air, a fragile thread stretching impossibly taut between us. Every instinct screamed at me that this moment was anything but good, yet I couldn't tear my eyes away from her, the woman who had been my ghost and my heartache for so long. Why are you here? I managed to croak out, my voice trembling as I took in her familiar yet foreign presence. A part of me yearned for the embrace of my mother, the warmth of her smile that I desperately clung to in memories, but the other part, the more rational piece, cautioned me against the storm brewing just beyond her entrance. She smiled at me, but it was curt, rehearsed, hiding a depth of emotion that cut at me like shards of glass. Kara, sweetheart, this isn't what it seems, she began, her voice smooth but laced with urgency. It was the plea of a mother, yet so much more a warning amid the chaos that surrounded us. That I flicked my gaze back to my father, whose rage had transformed into a stillness like that of a predator ready to strike. His eyes narrowed, dark pools of anger and betrayal. You shouldn't have come back, Nora, he stated with an icy calm that sent chills cascading down my spine. The stranger beside him, who had thus far remained silent, shifted his weight, gauging the dynamics of the unfolding drama with the keen eye of an observer. I sensed the power shift, felt the tension crackle in the distance. It was the kind of energy that ignites boiling rage or something even more dangerous. "She deserves to know the truth," my mother replied boldly, stepping forward as if to shield me from the storm. "You can't keep hiding things from her, especially now." I swallowed hard, the word truth echoing in my thoughts like a taunt. What truth was this? The one that shattered my childhood? The one that had pushed my father to the brink of madness because of my choices? I felt as though the ground was shifting beneath me, and with it, every semblance of familiarity began to crumble. "Truth?" my father spat, his voice thick with derision. "You mean like the truth you chose to abandon? You lost your right to dictate what truth means." The bitterness in his tone was palpable, wrapping around me, tightening as dread washed over every part of my being. That my mother's jaw tightened, and for a split second, vulnerability flitted across her features. "I didn't abandon anyone. I thought it was for the best. I had to protect her from what?" I interrupted, my voice sharpening with desperation. My chest felt constricted, like a weight pressing down upon me, threatening to collapse the fragile world I had built until that day. "What could be so terrible that you had to leave me? Leave us?" The moment cracked open a floodgate of emotions long hidden beneath layers of shame and regret. My mother's face fell, the slightest tremor in her lips betrayed the charisma she wore like armor. "It's not that simple, Kara. Your father, he's not who he seems. I did what I thought was best, for you. What do you know about what's best for me?" I shouted, the words tearing from my throat like a painful confession, but before she could respond, I felt a heavy hand on my shoulder. It was Maria, her presence a grounding force against the whirlwind that engulfed me. "Let's not do this here," Maria said softly, her voice low, a melody of calm against the cacophony of raw emotions. "This is not the place for all of this," but my father's fury reignited, and his focus shifted toward her, a predator spotting a challenger. "And who do you think you are in this mess? Just a maid? You think you can interfere where you don't belong?" "She belongs here more than you do," I fired back, the heat of determination springing forth like a wild flame within me. It was as though the walls I had built were beginning to crack, and through those fissures, moments of truth and strength seeped through. There was a split second where Maria glanced at me, her face a mixture of admiration and concern, acknowledgement shimmering in her eyes. It was her unwavering faith that held me together when the rest of my world threatened to collapse. "Enough," the tall stranger interjected suddenly, his voice booming and filled with an authority that seemed to resonate through the very bones of the house. The weight of his presence commanded attention, forcing everyone to pause. "It's time for the truth to surface. We can't allow fear to dictate our actions any longer." That I looked between the three of them, my father, my mother, the imposing stranger, and felt trapped in an endless tug-of-war, where I was the rope being frayed thin. I had never felt so powerless, caught in an emotional whirlwind that threatened to pull me apart. My heart pounded with urgency, a need to understand, a need to find the real story behind the shadows. "Who are you?" I finally managed. "Why are you here?" The stranger's eyes locked onto mine, fierce and unwavering. "I am someone who knows more than you should ever have to bear. Your father and I have unfinished business, and whether you're ready to face the truth or not, it's time we uncovered it." The room fell hushed, the air thick with palpable tension. My heart raced, and I sensed that boundaries were about to be crossed, revelations poised on the brink of spilling over. And in that moment, amidst the shadows and the fraying threads of my family's tapestry, my mother whispered something under her breath, a confession that sent a very different kind of tremor through the room. "It was me. I was the one who chose to leave." "Mom!" I gasped, the shock crashing over me like a tidal wave as the fragments of the truth began to swirl around us, ready to drown me in the weight of its implications, leaving me teetering on the edge of an unknown abyss. The silence that followed my mother's revelation was unbearable, a vacuum where chaos had reigned just moments before. My heart raced, and I felt the walls closing in, the weight of my reality pressing against my chest. All those years of wondering why she had left, why she had chosen to disappear from my life, and now I was confronted with a truth that threatened to unravel everything I thought I understood. Why, Mom? I breathed out, my voice barely above a whisper, yet it carried the weight of a lifetime. You said you left to protect us, but I need to know why. Why did you choose to leave me behind? Her eyes glistened with unshed tears as she stepped forward, courage flickering behind her gaze. There were things happening in our lives that you were too young to understand. I thought distance would guard you against the storm brewing. I didn't think it would tear us apart. Then why Father's presence loomed over us, a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. You betrayed this family, Nora. You walked away, and no amount of words can change that. His voice was like gravel, raw and unforgiving. Despite the anger coming from my father, a flicker of rage ignited within me, fueled by the loss of the moments we could have shared. Maybe you should have talked to her instead of punishing her, I shot back, the heat of my own frustration boiling over. You think your anger protects me? It only isolates me. What's the point in a family if we can't even share the truth? Mariah's hand tightened alongside mine, her support fierce and unwavering. Whatever fear I felt when facing my mother and father had slightly faded into the background, eclipsed by an unexpected surge of defiance. With Maria grounding me, I felt emboldened, even in the face of my father's wrath. Tell her, then, the stranger interjected, his voice slicing through the tense atmosphere like a hot knife through butter. Tell her about the truth you kept hidden from her. The truth about your choices, your failings, and the reasons you let fear take control of your lives. A hush blanketed the room as every eye turned toward my father, his face contorting with an array of emotions I couldn't decipher. In that moment, I saw a vulnerability that flickered beneath the turbulence. Did he truly believe he was protecting me? No more lies, my mother demanded, her voice growing sturdy, tinged with determination. It's time for Kara to know who she really is, and why she could never have been safe surrounded by all of this. What do you mean, who I really am? I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. The ground beneath me started to feel unstable again as I awaited the kind of revelation I wasn't sure I was prepared for. The reason I left, my mother began, her voice trembling, it was bigger than any of us. There are things about your heritage you don't understand, things that could put you in danger. What kind of danger? I pressed, grappling for clarity through the darkness that enveloped us. Why couldn't you just tell me? Because you needed to be protected, she replied, her gaze filled with a mix of sorrow and resolve. There are forces at play that you are not ready to face. Your father has spent years trying to shield you from a truth that could shatter what's left of this family. But fear isn't strength, and shielding you hasn't made you safe. It's just left you vulnerable. With her words weighing heavily on my heart, reality twisted, reshaping itself before my eyes. I was standing in the center of this storm, but it was not just a family feud, it was a kaleidoscope of inherited secrets that threatened to consume us all. Stop! My father shouted, his voice cutting through the confusion like a whip. You have no idea what you're asking for, Nora. What I did, it was to keep her safe. His anger radiated around the room, filling every corner with a menacing cloud. With each passing second, the uncertainty festered, and I could feel the pull of my identity unraveling. Safe from what? I wept, my heart on my sleeve, every question unspooling at once. Why can't you just tell me the truth, once and for all? The tall stranger took a step closer, his intense gaze holding mine, urging me to look deeper within myself. The truth lies not only with them, Kara. It lies within you as well. Who you choose to be in this chaos defines you. Strength isn't just in knowledge, sometimes, it's in the choices we make. His words hung in the air, heavy and ripe with meaning, yet the flickering flame of hope felt extinguished beneath the weight of so much uncertainty and dread. It was then that I noticed Mariah's expression change, shifting from concern to realization. Kara, listen, she began slowly, her voice trembling with urgency. I overheard things when your father and I had private conversations, things that I thought were rumors or myths whispered to keep you in the dark. You said you felt trapped, but what if it wasn't just you? What if there's something the both of you need to know? What are you talking about? I turned toward her, fear creeping into my bones. What rumors? What have you heard? In the tension that filled the moment, Maria drew a trembling breath, the kind that hinted at revelations long buried. There are people looking for your family. People who want to find out who you really are. A sense of dread washed over me, the implications crashing down like a tidal wave, leaving me gasping for air. The truth was not just about who I had lost, it was about who was at stake now. Kara, my mother said, her voice barely above a whisper, you have to believe that whatever is coming, we will face it together. You won't be alone, I promise. But the room swelled with unresolved tension, and my heart raced with the uncertainty of what lay ahead and the choices that would soon be upon me. As I looked into my mother's eyes, I felt the weight of words yet unspoken, promises unfulfilled, and a future shrouded in shadows. What had I been thrust into? And more importantly, would love and choice be my guiding light or a dangerous distraction in the storm lying just ahead? The atmosphere hung heavy with unspoken fears and unraveling truths, a tapestry of emotion stretched taut as I attempted to make sense of Maria's revelation. I felt my heart pounding in my chest, each thump echoing the ambiguity surrounding my identity and what awaited us. The tension, thick as syrup, settled into my bones, and I struggled to breathe under its weight. People looking for us? I repeated, my voice trembling slightly as if testing the veracity of her words. What do you mean? What do they want? Maria's hand flew to her mouth, as if she wished she could swallow her words back down. I don't know all the details, she admitted quietly, glancing nervously between my mother and me. But I've heard whispers of a family like yours, with roots entrenched deep in something powerful. Some saw it as protection, others as a threat. My father's face darkened, and it was clear that this conversation was stirring up a tempest best left undisturbed. Enough, he thundered, his fists clenched at his sides. This is not a game. All of this is about safety. If those people are looking, then it's imperative we act discreetly. Discreetly? I spat, anger surging and filling my throat. You call keeping me in the dark discreet? You've shrouded my life in mystery. You think that will keep me safe? Because it hasn't. Kara, you don't understand. His tone softened, yet there was an urgency that couldn't be missed. Your safety is the only thing I've ever cared about. I would rather bear this burden than watch you exposed to danger. Exposed to what? My voice rose. How can I begin to fight for what I don't even know? The truth feels like it's bleeding out of my grasp, and every moment we waste is just bringing them one step closer. As our words ricocheted off the walls, I noticed my mother looking more fragile, her gaze flitting to the stranger. Maybe we don't have time for this, she murmured, almost to herself. There was a resolve buried beneath her regret that stirred something within me. That I think I understand why you left, I said softly, addressing her directly. You thought you were protecting me, didn't you? She nodded, a light trembling illumination flickering in her eyes. I thought I was saving you from something, a world that could take everything from you. But the cost of that safety has grown far more complicated than I ever envisioned. The stranger stepped closer, his careful brow furrowed in concern. You don't have to navigate this alone, he said gently. There are paths to understanding. There are truths that, once uncovered, will give you the strength you need to face what's coming. That I looked into his eyes, absorbing the sincerity there, but the flutter of hope felt fleeting. Where do I even begin to seek those truths? To unravel not just who I was, but who I could become in the wake of what was coming. Then let's uncover them, I declared, determination biting hard. A path forward starts now. Together. No more secrets. Together. My father's brow furrowed deeper, laden with a mix of disbelief and disapproval. You're touching threads that you won't be able to handle. I've tried to shield you, but it hasn't worked. I shouted, frustration bubbling over. The truth is my right as your daughter. And I won't let that slip away just because it makes you uncomfortable. Sometimes ignorance is a blessing, Kara, he countered, shifting slightly as if searching for the right words. Sometimes, knowledge is the key to freedom, I countered back, a fire igniting within me. Behind me, Maria stood, her determination aligning with mine, each breath we took filling ourselves with courage. I end this fragile moment, I felt a surge of warmth bustle through the cracks, the kind of hope I didn't know I needed. Perhaps my father's fear and protectiveness stemmed from love, but love, colored with shadows, could spiral into something stifling. No. The longer we stay hidden behind these walls, the closer they get. I turned back to my mother. You said I wouldn't be alone. I need you now more than ever. Will you guide me? She reached for my hand, a silent promise of solidarity. I felt her warmth envelop me, yet it mingled with worry. The choice to confront this will define you, but we must tread carefully. They won't hesitate to expose our vulnerabilities, she warned. There's darkness, too, in our past. What kind of darkness? My curiosity laced with fear almost made me second-guess my bravery, but just as my mother opened her mouth to respond, the door slammed open, and the dim light from the hallway illuminated a figure, a stranger, cloaked and shadowed in matching darkness, masking any hints of identity. Heavy footsteps echoed through the calm as all eyes bore witness to the newcomer. I found her, he announced, the chill in his voice sending shockwaves through every fiber of my being. At that moment, time seemed to suspend itself, the air thick with dread as my heart sank into my stomach. Could they have already known I was here? No. I had only just begun to fight, and my truth was not something I was ready to relinquish yet. But now, with the arrival of this enigmatic figure, fear entwined with that burgeoning hope, setting the stage for a confrontation that would force the darkness into light. Would I finally emerge whole, or would the storm consume us all? As I braced for the unknown, uncertainty churned within me, awakening the peril of choices left unmade. As the figure stepped further into our home, the dim light flickering from the hallway illuminated a familiar yet disturbingly unsettling face. I was taken aback when recognition coursed through me. It was Leonardo, an old acquaintance of my father's. A man I'd only met once at a long-forgotten gala, where elegant masks shielded our true identities. My heart raced. The memories of that night were drenched in laughter and music, but now, they threatened to drown me in the weight of impending danger. You, I managed to say, my voice barely a whisper, but the look on my father's face told me that acknowledgement was unnecessary. Kara, we don't have time for this, my father interjected, stepping forward with an urgency that left no room for questions. What are you doing here, Leonardo? I've come to deliver a warning, he replied, his voice cold and measured, yet there was an underlying tension that spoke volumes. Those who seek to unearth the truth about this family have grown restless. They'll stop at nothing to get what they want. Your daughter is in imminent danger. My mind raced as fear coursed through me. What do you mean, they want the truth? Leonardo's eyes darted to my mother before resting heavily on mine. They believe that you hold knowledge that could unravel everything that has been concealed. The power within your lineage has made you a target, Kara. Stop talking in riddles. I shouted, adrenaline thrumming through my veins. Who are they? And what do they want from me? Leonardo hesitated, glancing at my father before drawing a breath. Your family is part of something much larger than you realize, something that has drawn attention from individuals who operate in shadows. If they believe you might expose them, they would use me as leverage, I interrupted, fear twisting in my chest. You're saying that my existence is the very reason for this danger? That knowing meth truth of this family might mean my life? Yes, Leonardo confirmed, his gaze intense. And it is not just your life that is on the line. The hierarchy of shadows will not falter for the sake of one. I stood frozen, my head spinning. Revelations and fears collided in a turbulent storm. My childhood, painted with colors of laughter and protection, was suddenly stained with betrayal and impending threat. Shadows were not just figments of my imagination but alive, lurking right outside these walls. Enough of these games. My father bellowed, his voice now tinged with desperation as he attempted to regain control of the situation. What do you suggest we do, Leonardo? We cannot expose her to more risk by allowing this conversation to continue. Perhaps you should embrace the inevitable, Leonardo urged, his voice dropping to a low, conspiratorial tone. The truth cannot remain hidden forever. It's time, Kara, for you to step into your reality. Time. The only currency I seemed to lack now was time. It felt as though I were standing at the precipice of a ravine, clinging desperately to the tendrils of my past while staring into the abyss of uncertainty below. What does that mean? I demanded. You act as if stepping into it is a choice rather than a forced obligation. Leonardo smiled then, a grim smile that crackled with the weight of my future. Those who come for you already believe they have made that choice for you. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted, a sense of solidarity began to weave itself among my family and Maria. I noticed her eyes, wide with concern yet resolute, as if she too sought to find clarity amid chaos. Then, as if fate had drawn a stroke of ink across the scoreboard of my life, the truth of my reality intensified. Will you stand with me? I questioned, my voice softer now, glancing around at everyone in the room, my father, my mother, and Maria. If I choose to confront this darkness, I can't do it alone. A flicker of hesitation passed through the air, but my mother nodded. We have hidden too long. You deserve to know the truth. We need to face this together. As the agreement passed between us, an unexpected warmth wrapped around my heart, a reminder that even when shadows loom, there is always light to seek out. Then the door opened again, and a gust of wind gusted through, followed by the arrival of a woman cloaked in a crimson shawl sparkling with fire and purpose. I had never seen her before, yet her presence felt almost intimate, as if she bore an unspoken kinship with the struggles I was undertaking. I am here to help you, she said, her voice steadying the quaking ground beneath my uncertainties. But make no mistake, the choice you're about to make could alter your life forever. And right there, as I faced two unknowns, one was the heartwarming potential of allies at my side, while the other was the chilling sense of the looming threat. My heart raced towards a cliffhanger I never anticipated. Choose wisely, Leonardo murmured. There are those who wait in the wings ready to take your light. But there are also those who will stand with you against the oncoming storm. Just as the weight of his words settled, my phone buzzed violently in my pocket. I pulled it out, expecting nothing more than an annoying notification, only to see a name flash vividly across the screen, an old friend whose sudden message could either be a lifeline or a noose tightening around my resolve. The screen read, I know what they're looking for, and I need to talk. It's important. Meet Meta Knight. Without thinking, I looked at the others around, Meta, myriad expressions reflecting my own fear, but also igniting the spark of shared strength. Whatever awaited me was both thrilling and terrifying. But I was determined to uncover the truth, to seek out what had been hidden. Because I was no longer merely a girl embroiled in her father's secrets. I was a fighter poised on the edge of a storm, ready to step into my destiny even if the path held more shadows than I cared to confront. What lay at the end of that path, however, was a certainty I couldn't shake. It would redefine everything I thought I knew about freedom, love, and family. I dared not let the moment slip by unnoticed, even as the shadows loomed ever closer. A heavy silence settled over the room, thick with anticipation and dread. The flickering lights added an ethereal quality to our intimate gathering, making it feel as if we were participants in a scene far removed from the world outside our doors, a world that likely held dangers we were not yet aware of. I felt my heart thundering against my ribs, the vibration intertwining with the pulse of urgency that danced among the others. Maria's expression mirrored my own turmoil, her brow furrowed in concentration as she processed the implications of my decision. My father remained rigid, the lines of his face drawn tight with worry. And my mother, typically the bastion of strength in our family, seemed momentarily fragile, her gaze flitting between Leonardo and me as if trying to decipher the truth in a puzzle crafted by our own lives. Tonight, I repeated softly, the words slipping from my lips like an incantation. I can't ignore this message. But what if it only leads me deeper into danger? Then we will face the danger together, my mother said, stepping forward and placing a steadying hand on my arm. You might be the one they seek, but we are still your family. We won't let you walk this path alone. Just as her words forged a bond of courage among us, curiosity tugged at my heart. Who was this friend, and what did they know that had compelled them to reach out now? 1,000 scenarios flitted through my mind, each one more bewildering than the last. I thought about the choices they must have made, navigating their life alongside the shadows I'd only just begun to understand. Would it be safer to wait? Leonardo interjected, his voice cutting through the emotional haze. Once your identity is known, shadows will congregate faster than you can imagine. You must decide if facing your past is worth the potential cost. His words simmered beneath the surface of my resolve, curling around my heart like smoke. The threat of shadows had become stark, no longer abstract dangers I had read about in stories, but real, tangible forces that could snare us all in their tightening grip. But then, there was that flicker of an ember, the warmth of this unexpected community that had formed. Could it stand against the tide? I have to know, I whispered, my voice steady despite the uncertainty looming overhead. What does it mean to step into my reality? The spirit with the red shawl stepped closer, her eyes bright like flames. It means embracing everything you are, both the light and the dark. The truth you uncover will shape not only your fate but also the fates of those who care for you. You will dismantle the lies that bind you. It is a path of vulnerability and strength. It is terrifying yet liberating. Her presence was enchanting, and though she spoke of empowerment, I felt the weight of foreboding climb up my spine. Could I truly confront the specters of a life I hadn't fully understood? As I contemplated the choice before me, the unseen threads of fate began to weave a tapestry woven with nostalgia and new promises. I looked at Leonardo again, desperate for clarity in a sea of murky shadows. You were part of my father's life. What truths do you harbor that could help me navigate this? He hesitated, the shadows beneath his eyes growing darker. What I know will not allay your fears. But it may offer you a skeleton key to unlock the door to your past. Embrace the alerts of your heart, Kara. Allow the whispers of truth to guide your steps. An unsettling thought crossed my mind. What if his words held more weight than I could bear? What if the truth crumbled me? Suddenly my phone buzzed again, this time emitting a sharp, dual beep, pulling my focus from the uncertainty swirling in the room. My breath hitched as I looked down to see another message, more ominous. They know. You're being watched. Don't trust anyone. A chill rattled my resolve. Who was watching? How deeply embedded were they in the shadows? And whom could I trust? Go to the meeting, my father demanded, breaking my reverie with urgency. But promise you won't go alone. We can't risk exposure, nor can we jeopardize what little control we have left. Maria stepped nearer, her hand finding mine. I'm with you, Kara. Wherever this leads, I won't let you face it alone. I cast a glance around the room, gathering strength from each determined face. Though the storm brewed on the horizon, I felt a slow, steadying resolve bloom in my heart. This was not merely about my fate, but about the journey we would all undertake together. Then well go, I declared, my voice rising amidst the uncertainty. But we do it as a family. All or nothing. Before any of them could respond, the darkness outside swelled, and the lights flickered ominously, throwing erratic shadows across our faces like eerie specters. The tension in the room mounted, and as if on cue, a low, ominous sound reverberated from the other side of the door, a knock so heavy it felt like the weight of the world had settled on our threshold. In that moment, amidst the quaking foundation of my reality, I realized that whatever awaited us might shatter the fragile light we had forged. The door loomed like a gate to our future. Was I ready to cross the threshold into unknown territory? And just like that, as the sound of the knock echoed with a chilling finality, I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. My destiny was no longer a mere whisper. It had erupted into a crescendo, demanding to be faced, for better or worse. The knock reverberated through the very marrow of my being, pooling dread in my stomach. My breath quickened, the air around me thinning to a near suffocation. I locked eyes with my parents, fear reflected in their faces, and Mariah's grip tightened on my hand, a silent vow that we were in this together. A pulse of unshakable loyalty flickered between us, even as uncertainty loomed over our heads like a storm cloud. Who could that be? I whispered, the tremor in my voice betraying my steadiness. My father pushed forward slowly, eyes narrowing in on the door. Stay back, all of you, he instructed, authority lacing his tone. I will find out who it is. He moved cautiously toward the entrance, each step deliberate, each moment unbearable. As he approached, I felt a surge of both fear and hope. Perhaps it was just a neighbor checking in, or a friend unaware of the brewing tempest in our lives. But as my father's hand hovered over the doorknob, an ominous intuition clenched my chest. No simple greeting awaited us on the other side. That I and the silence that followed, the air felt electric with potential ramifications. The vibrant threads of my family's love intertwined with panic, creating a tapestry far more complicated than I could comprehend. I glanced at Leonardo, who remained stoic, yet his eyes betrayed a world of knowledge he held back. The door creaked open, revealing a figure cloaked in shadows. A man, tall and imposing, stepped into our home, the darkness clinging to him like a second skin. He didn't say a word, merely scanned the room with piercing eyes that seemed to settle on me longer than anyone else. A chill shot through me, and for a brief moment, the world narrowed down to his unsettling presence. "Who are you?" my father demanded, escalating the unease that hung in the air. "What do you want?" The stranger remained silent for a heartbeat longer, then finally broke his stillness. "I'm here for the girl," he declared, a hint of an unsettling smirk playing at the corners of his lips. "You know why. It's time for her to learn the truth." A collective gasp echoed in the room, and I felt my legs threaten to give way beneath me. "What truth?" I fumbled, desperation flooding my voice. "What do you mean?" Before he could respond, my mother stepped protectively in front of me. "You won't take her," she yelled, her voice cracking with the strain of fear. The fierceness of her love wrapped around my heart like a shield, but even that small warmth did little to quell the storm brewing in the Stygian depths of the man's gaze. That he chuckled, a low, disconcerting sound that reverberated through the silence, dangerous and intoxicating all at once. "Oh, but she must. The shadows are closing in, and it's best to face them now rather than let them fester. Your past is hunting you down, Kara." With his words, the knot of dread deepened, ushering every unsaid fear into the foreground. "What do you know about my past?" I gasped, trembling as the foundation of my reality began to quake at the edges. That he took a step closer, his presence consuming the space around us. "Everything," he replied simply. "But the time for secrecy is over. You have choices to make, and the consequences that follow will not spare anyone you love. You need to decide who you trust." What a fragile vessel it was in moments like these. As the weight of his gaze bore down on me, I felt myself vacillating between despair and longing. The shadows he spoke of had become more than tenebrous figures hiding in the corners of my life. They were now palpable, inescapable pieces of my reality. "Leave us," my father hissed, anger bubbling beneath the surface of his fear. "You will not frighten my family, nor will you take my daughter anywhere." But the man's expression shifted from disdain to something I could not decipher. Was it pity, amusement, or hunger? "You can't protect her from this, old friend. Denial is no longer an option." The dismissive brush of his hand waved away my father's fierce determination like a child's tantrum. Then, as if conjured by the intensity of the air around us, another knock echoed through our Dwellinga hurried series, frantic and frantic, sending tremors of urgency through my heart. This time, it was accompanied by a shout. "Kara! Open up!" My heart skipped as I recognized the voice. Ben, my childhood friend. What was he doing here? A sense of warmth enveloped the room, an unexpected safety. As I thought of him, I felt the flickers of hope returning, illuminating the darkness like fireflies in the night. But beneath that warmth lay an unsettling thought. Did Ben stand ready to plunge us deeper into this treacherous chasm, or would he deliver a lifeline in our storm? "Kara! Please!" he shouted again, panic threading through his tone. The stranger turned slowly, and in that moment, our eyes met. I felt an unsettling connection, like sparks igniting the air between us. There was something more to his presence, something buried beneath his confident facade. I sensed secrets swirling like smoke, and I wondered, was he an ally hidden in the guise of menace, or a foe disguised in familiar shadows? As I wavered, torn between the pulse of fear and the flickers of resolve kindled by my family and Ben, the threshold before me felt less like a door and more like a choice. One that could shatter everything or release me from the chains binding my past. with another urgent knock resonating in the air. The stranger smirked, as if he knew what I was about to decide. Think carefully, Kara, he warned. Step into the light, or stay forever in the dark. A weighty pause filled our small space, my heart pounding mercilessly. I had to choose. Shadows beckoned at my feet, but the light, if it existed, sounded like Ben's familiar voice. In that moment, nothing felt certain, and yet everything hinged on the next fragile beat of my heart. The silence lingered like a blanket over us, heavy with unvoiced fears and the weight of decisions made in an instant. Every heart in the room was suspended, breath caught in throats, waiting for the fragile threads of trust to unravel or tighten once more. I could still hear Ben's voice, echoing from just beyond the door, threaded with urgency, desperation reaching through the impending darkness. The uncertainty coiled tightly around me, squeezing until I could hardly breathe. The choice felt terrifyingly real, each option presenting a gateway to new depths of the unknown. The stranger's gaze remained unwavering, unblinking, as if daring me to choose. You have a mother, don't you? A figure in your life whom you think you can count on, he said casually, yet each word felt like a lit match struck in a room full of gas. But what if the choice you think you're making is not the one you truly want? No. You won't take her. My father's voice fractured with defiance. You're a coward hiding behind your words. Am I? Or am I merely the harbinger of truth? The stranger's lips curled into a knowing smile, an expression that sent shivers racing across my skin. Did your parents ever tell you how your life began? Did they shield you from the knowledge that could change everything? I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, drowning out rational thought. What do you mean? My voice trembled even as I clung to my parents' unwavering love, so fiercely protective and full of light that he stepped closer once more, invading the space my father desperately sought to defend. The woman who's raised you, loved you, she's not who you think. There are dark threads woven into your history, and it's time you started pulling at them. His voice was smooth, but his words were daggers, each delivering a blow to the fragile sanity I was barely managing to maintain. Drawing in a shaky breath, I locked eyes with my parents. Their expressions were mirrors of confusion and fear. It was as if they knew something, and the revelation swelled between us like an unbreakable tension. My mother's brow furrowed, a flicker of anguish shadowing her features. She stepped toward me, her voice firm and soft, a comforting caress in the chaos. Kara, sweet girl, you are safe. Don't listen to him, Mom. What is he talking about? What did you hide from me? I pleaded, the rising tide of anxiety threatening to drown out my hopes. She recoiled, her grief palpable as she cast a hurried glance at my father. We wanted to protect you from what? The truth? The stranger's laughter echoed around us, capturing every beam of light, distorting their glow. Your mother made choices, my dear. Choices to shield you from a dark legacy. And if you want to learn who you truly are, we must delve into that darkness. As Ben's voice broke through the stillness again, I felt an inexplicable pull toward him. He was a bastion of familiarity in this storm, a beacon I craved as the tempest continued to swell. Kara opened the door, yet as I contemplated the threshold, the weight of the stranger's words pressed inexorably closer. If you choose the light, you will discover your truth but also unravel your family's fabric. If you stay here, you may ensconce yourself in ignorance, but ignorance invites danger. Why do you want me so badly? I stammered, the absurdity of my predicament crashing into me. Who are you? An admirer of potential, he replied smoothly. You're a force that can shift everything. You just need to decide what kind of legacy you wish to embrace. In that intense instant of confrontation, all the shadows converged upon me. I felt my parents' hands gripping mine, steady yet trembling. I could sense the flickering flame of Ben's devotion behind that door, the warmth of shared memories bathing me in light, drawing me back from the precipice. I don't want to choose, I whispered, my heart constricting. I wanted to run to my history, to the love and memories that had shaped me. But could that love withstand the truth that threatened to shatter it? Then you will be forced to face the consequences of that indecision, the stranger replied, unfazed. He took another step forward, the shadows around him pulsing like living entities. Make your choice, Kara. In moments, They will be at your door, and your past will define your future. As the next frantic knock rattled through the house, I could already feel the weight of time pressing upon me, aching, urgent. That familiar warmth radiated just beyond the threshold, yet the shadows loomed ever closer, their whisper growing louder. I opened my mouth to speak, but no words emerged. Instead, all I felt was the searing pulse of uncertainty. "I'll decide when I'm ready," I declared, defiance ringing in my voice even as uncertainty knotted my stomach. But even as I said the words, I could feel the enormity of my choice, teetering on the edge of my fate. Then another sound tore through the heavy air, a whimper. I froze, the realization crashing over me like a tidal wave. It came from behind the door, and it wasn't Ben calling out. It was a sound I recognized all too well. A sound that silenced every thought, every fear. My heart raced as I spun toward the door. Who was that? I gasped, fear twisting through my chest anew. The stranger smiled, a glimmer of wicked delight sparkling in his eyes. "A reminder of the truth you seek. The past is coming for you, Kara. Whether you choose to face it or not, it will find you." Suddenly, the door shook as someone pounded relentlessly. The urgency in the sound transformed it from mere knocks into the drumbeat of doom. I wanted to flee back into the safety of my family's arms, but the revelation that my life teetered upon revelation and decision made it clear, there would be no more holding back. With a trembling hand, I took a step closer to the door. The world felt as if it was spiraling into chaos, and in the seams of that chaos, I could sense the lurking shadow of my past ready to crash into me. But as I reached the doorknob, I realized there was no turning back. "Kara, please." Ben's voice, raw and filled with fear, pierced through the layers of uncertainty like a lifeline. It was time to confront the shadows and the shimmering possibility of truth that awaited on the other side. My hand trembled as it hovered over the doorknob, the cold metal sending a shiver up my spine. Every heartbeat felt monumental, a drum echoing 1,000 unvoiced fears. "Kara, please." Ben's voice called out again, urgency woven into every syllable. The truth was clawing at my insides, an insistent beast demanding to be recognized. I cast one last look around the room, locking eyes with my mother, the woman who brought me into this world with tenderness but kept so much at bay. My father stood beside her, a bulwark of protectiveness against the unknown, shadows of regret flickering in his expression. And Maria, steadfast as always, stood by my side. Together they forged a united front, but behind each reassuring glance lay a flicker of shared anxiety. With one deliberate breath, I turned the knob and pulled the door open. The sudden rush of cool air swept through, causing the hairs on the back of my neck to stand on end. There stood Ben, his features illuminated by the light from the hallway, concern etched in every line of his face. But behind him shadows stretched like fingers, darkening the doorway, pressing inward like a force of impending chaos. "Ben." I gasped, the fear of what lurked just beyond the visible tightening my throat. "What's happening? Who's out there?" His eyes deepened, glimmering with intimacy and fright. "You need to come with me, Kara. We don't have much time." The urgency in his voice shook me to my core, grounding the revelation that had been spiraling wildly in the air around us. But just as I was about to step forward, the stranger lingered at the threshold, the smirk on his lips taunting me with the weight of my choice. "You think running away will protect you? The shadows are ever present. You cannot escape your truth." "Enough!" I shouted, defiance mingling with the quaking remnants of my fear. "I'm done with being tussled around by your riddles. I will no longer allow my life to be dictated by the shadows you weave." The strangled silence stretched, thick and heavy in the air as Ben's resolute form braced against the encroaching darkness. "We have to go, Kara. They're coming." His plea pierced through the storm of words we had spiraled into threats and truths hovering menacingly, ready to engulf us all. In that moment of clarity, every fragment coalesced into one thought: I could no longer remain an unwilling participant chained to the remnants of my past. I had to carve my own future, one forged in the fires of truth and love. "Let me through, in coming with you," I whispered to Ben, fear reinforced by unwavering resolve. "Together, perhaps we could illuminate this darkness, banishing the shadows that taunted so fiercely. A calculating look flashed across the stranger's face, but before he could retaliate, I stepped through the door into the unknown, boldly sealing the fate that lay ahead. With Ben at my side, his hand finding mine, I felt a sudden surge of warmth pulse from the depths of my Korea tight-knit bond of trust weaving through our connection in haste. Together we turned our backs on the uncertainty left behind, ready to confront whatever lay amid the shadows lingering just beyond my grasp. "We've got to go now." Ben's voice echoed my own urgency as we darted down the hallway. I felt lightning pulse through my veins as we dashed into the breathing night. Shadows flared in the corners of my mind, a whispering reminder of what had been kept hidden, but there was power in this shared run, each step resonating with fierce resolve. "Over here." Ben guided me as we slipped past the vast dimensions of the mansion, bolting toward familiarity like a moth drawn to the sun. I could feel the air thickening with dread as we neared the outer door. In that heartbeat of freedom, I heard a resounding crash echo from behind us, the unmistakable sound of my father confronting the man in the hallway. My heart turned in my chest. Was he protecting me, or would shadows of naivety finally choke out the bonds of family I had clung to? And then came a voice that sent an icy shiver rippling through me, a voice I recognized, a voice that belonged to that creature I had tried so desperately to keep in the dark. "You can't keep her from knowing the truth. The darkness will find her whether you shield her or not." My heart sank further, trailing behind like a haunting echo. As much as I craved security, I realized with dawning clarity that without the light of truth, remaining hidden was but a temporary disguise. With Ben's grip steadying me, I stepped forward, my resolve shoring up as my friend turned and faced me. "Whatever happens next, I'm with you, Kara. You'll never go down alone." Even as the shadows stretched behind, laden with whispers of before, I felt the threads of fate tether me to Ben, Maria, my mother, each person offering pieces of light in their unique forms. I turned to look back one last time, my heart balanced between the longing for my origins and the flame of my future rising from beneath. Faith surged through me, faith that would burn bright and refuse to fall to the shadows. As I walked through the door into the night, the reality began to sink in. We were not just running from a past, we were destined to confront it together, face the truth head-on that would redefine not just my identity, but the legacy we could create aligned in this newfound light. "Together," I stated firmly, feeling the strength of that promise flutter within. "Together," Ben echoed, eyes gleaming with a determination that mirrored my own. And as the shadows receded, I took my first steps into a world crafted by our choices, the choices we would make to sculpt our destinies and untangle us from the webs that would ensnare our fates. I could feel hope palpably intertwining with our movement, creating a pathway of light as we forged forward, united against the storm, ready to embrace the dawn of our truth. In that moment of clarity, I knew that we would no longer surrender to the shadows, we would enter the vivid embrace of our reality, reclaiming what belonged to us. And as I whispered, "No more secrets," the air thickened with promise, a deep affirmation that left my heart ablaze. The echoes mislaid in the past were converging with a fierce authenticity. This time, we shape our futures. The past would always linger, but I chose to rise like a phoenix from the ashes, ready to turn the page and step boldly into the light. In the aftermath of those closing steps, I felt a wild exhilaration in knowing I was bound to reclaim each piece of my narrative, to weave a tapestry that echoed love, strength, and resilience. I had found my way out of shadow step by step, I had emerged into a world painted with intention, igniting hope anew, and above the lingering clouds, the first rays of the morning sun kissed our faces, a sign that a new dawn was upon us, one that promised a brighter future yet to unfold. Together. Always, I murmured into the new day as the winds of destiny whispered sweetly around us, a fresh beginning layered with a kaleidoscope of untold stories, longing to be woven into the fabric of our embraced reality. In that moment, as the sun broke over the horizon, I felt a profound liberation, echoing with the truth of a journey neither solitary nor dimmed by the burdens of the past. The darkness behind had laid the groundwork, the light ahead was ours to seize. And with that realization, I understood something truly beautiful. By embracing our truths, we become a symphony of shared light. I was not just reclaiming my identity but igniting a legacy that would forge its way through time. Onward, I breathed, stepping forth into the dawn, heart alight with possibility, and soul crying out for the future yet to come, fragile yet fiercely united against all odds. This was only the beginning.